The woman accused of recruiting and abusing underage girls in Jeffrey Epstein's alleged sex trafficking ring is set to face a judge next week. Ghislaine Maxwell is facing a list of charges, including illegally transporting minors and perjury. The FBI arrested her Thursday in New Hampshire, nearly a year after Epstein took his own life in jail. Maxwell is expected to be arraigned in New York's federal court in the coming days. Victims have accused her of helping Epstein run his suspected sex trafficking scheme by luring girls and sometimes abusing them herself. For more on this, let's bring in human trafficking expert and author Kimberly Orozco. Kimberly, first of all, I think these allegations are so horrific to hear for all of our viewers and everyone paying attention to this case. But sex trafficking in America is a reality. Even before we get into the specifics of Maxwell and Epstein, can you tell us about how widespread this problem is and how people can help?
Not only is it extremely widespread, but traffickers generally enjoy a great amount of impunity in committing their crimes. So it isn't something isolated to the uber rich like Mr. Epstein, but traffickers in general oftentimes aren't caught, they aren't prosecuted, and their convictions do not land them sentences that are equivalent to the severity of their crime. But as far as the prevalence, it's very hard to really say how prevalent it is because of the clandestine nature. It's often extremely underreported, and we don't see as many cases coming through the criminal justice system landing those convictions.
And how can people who are moved to help when they hear about this horrific story do something to contribute?
I think it's imperative for them to lobby their legislators for change that actually helps us protect victims, prevent these crimes, and facilitate the prosecution of offenders. I know that in the United States, there's estimated to be hundreds of thousands of victims, but the number of dedicated beds that we have for survivor shelters and the services that they have available for when they are, if and when they are rescued, is very far and few in between. So if they do have a local organization that provides direct services to survivors, which include, helping them get back on their feet, providing shelter, providing vocational assistance, provide them with legal assistance. I think volunteering with those organizations, donating to those organizations, but also just lobbying for change so that we can prevent these crimes from happening in the first place. And when and if a trafficker is caught, have the tools in place for law enforcement, for prosecutors to land convictions that result in substantial amounts of times in prison.
All right, Kimberly, let's go ahead and get into the specifics of this case. Tell us more about what prosecutors say Maxwell did in Epstein's suspected sex trafficking ring and how they were able to run this alleged operation for so long.
Well, she is not, the allegations say that she was not just a third party, that she was actively involved in facilitating the recruitment, the silence of these victims who eventually became survivors, as well as keeping them sort of complacent and facilitating their victimization over the years. It's not actually out of character for traffickers to use women in particular to facilitate their crimes. This helps give them diffuse responsibility, but it also helps gain the trust of potential victims. One thing that I did want to note, that she also probably had a hand in assessing what the victim would be susceptible to. So we saw actually Jeffrey Epstein's, his recruitment and control tactics change depending on the child or the woman that he was trying to victimize. He was assessing what void they had in their life and making the false promise or the promise to fulfill that void. So if she was coming from a lower socioeconomic area, he was offering money. If she was very well educated and talented, he would appeal to her aspirations. If she had low self-esteem, he was helping build that up by complimenting, her appearance and making her feel beautiful. I think the allegations against Maxwell were not only facilitating the recruitment, but also seeing what would appeal to these different victims, which tactic would get them to be compliant, would get them to be in a position of vulnerability.
So you've already started to tell us a bit about the alleged victims. What more can you tell us about the girls and young women who are survivors?
Well, as I talk about in my book, a victim, a survivor, they can come from any walk of life. They can come from a lower socioeconomic area. They can come from great families and great backgrounds with a lot of opportunities for social mobility. It really just it runs the gamut. They can come from anywhere, but a trafficker is essentially looking for what she has missing in her life and making the false promise to fulfill that need. And so I base the susceptibility off of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And a trafficker is looking for what void she has in that area. And Mr. Epstein was no different in that regard. He was looking for what he can make a false promise he can to give her to get her into a susceptible position.
Well, we've heard recently from attorney Alan Dershowitz, who's also been accused of taking part in the alleged sex trafficking ring. He wrote a piece Friday asking people to keep an open mind about Maxwell and slammed the recent Netflix documentary about the couple. How can we expect Maxwell's case to play out in court moving forward, and what are the potential implications for Dershowitz?
So in his piece, he was essentially looking at the inconsistencies in the survivor stories and pointing out those inconsistencies as a way to say that perhaps they weren't being truthful in what they were alleging against Maxwell. That is a common tactic that's used in courtrooms across the country when in the prosecution of traffickers. They look for inconsistencies. But what he failed to realize is that, rape trauma syndrome, child sexual abuse accommodation syndrome, because of the trauma that these women face, even if they are being inconsistent, even if they omit information or retract it and correct themselves, that is consistent with somebody who's gone through that kind of trauma. It does not in any way create a credibility gap, quote unquote, that cannot be overcome in the courtroom. And so I think that he's sort of setting the stage that of a tactic that Maxwell might use to create a credibility gap in these victims and their allegations of inconsistency. But that will be overcome, I feel, in the courtroom. And I think that it will be interesting to see how it plays out and how much substance is provided to support their claims and really overcome the argument that he makes in that piece.
Kimberly, one last question for you. Sure. Will Maxwell's arrest have any impact on civil cases that have already been filed by some of these survivors?
So in civil cases, the standard is we've seen a lot of cases come forth where it's the allegation of the third party, they either knew or they should have known what was going on. So that was the initial allegation against Maxwell, that she knew or she should have known what was going on. And that is what is alleged to her to make her liable in a civil capacity. In a criminal capacity, she needed to be actively involved. And so they have, from the indictment, they have claimed to have met that standard, that she was not only a third party that knew or should have known, but she was an active facilitator in the recruitment, in the control, in the silence, but also directly involved in some of the alleged victimizations that Epstein committed.
All right, Kimberly Melvin Orozco, thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
What's happening, everybody? It's good to see you. Happy Independence Day. And I specify, it's really funny this year. I'm going to be honest with you. Now, before I move forward, I'm not going to get, or at least it's not my plan, to get too into political stuff. I know I've been doing that a lot here on this channel, and I don't really see it as a political issue. Unfortunately, these issues that I've been discussing have been made political issues. But with all that, right now, we're actually going to get into a lot of that stuff tomorrow with Colton. Again, be sure to log on tomorrow at 11 p.m. Eastern. I will have Colton Harris Moore, our friend, here to discuss what's been going on in Seattle, the Chaz and Chop situation, and I'm sure we're going to get into a lot of stuff actually. So please make sure to log on for that. But tonight, let me finish my point about Independence Day before I get into how do you even say her name, man? I've only read her name. Ghislaine Maxwell is how you say it. I'm 99% sure anyway. But so Independence Day, I've been making it a point today. I've actually thought about it. It's most of my life I've kind of taken 4th of July just for granted. You know, it was just something that was whatever. Okay, you know, fireworks, something cool to do in the summertime. You know, barbecuing, hanging out with friends and family, that sort of thing. That's kind of how I always pretty much looked at it. But right now, you know, I was really thinking about it, and I'll get into that stuff tomorrow. But I'm making it a point to call it what it is, which is Independence Day, and I'm very, very grateful for my independence and my freedom, and those who, I mean, when you think about what the fireworks are for, the fireworks represent bombs. It represents the fight that our forefathers put up to make sure that I get to be able to sit up here and say whatever I want to all of you, and discuss things openly with you guys and express my opinions without fear of any type of legal ramifications. And that's a beautiful, beautiful thing. That's definitely something I'm very, very grateful for. So I don't want to, I don't like the idea of just calling it 4th of July anymore. It's the 4th of July is merely a date. Independence Day is a hell of a thing. And I am grateful for my independence. And in times like these, I think it's real important right now to really, you know, reflect on the things that fall under the category of examples of having our independence if you are American and you live here. And I think you'll be surprised as to the things that we are free to do that a lot of places, or we weren't always, you know, a lot of places don't have the kind of freedoms that we do. And it makes sense to really think about that stuff and really be grateful for it. So having said that, a happy Independence Day to all of you, my friends. So Ghislaine Maxwell. Ghislaine Maxwell is, I don't know a whole lot about her. I know that she was Mr. Jeffrey Epstein's right hand for many, many years, and girlfriend. And she was recently arrested for sex trafficking. And the thing about this is, what we need to keep in mind about why this is so good. We need to keep in mind that she more than likely has the ability to take down a lot of bad people just by speaking up and providing whatever proof. So she'll probably get, let's be honest here, guys. This is one situation where it's very important to me that she stays alive. We all know, I don't think any of us actually believe that Jeffrey Epstein actually committed suicide. There are too many people on the hook, too many things to lose. and a lot was at stake. So I believe that Jeffrey Epstein was murdered in order to keep him quiet, because anybody who's involved in things like this, let's be honest, these are not people with any type of code, any type of they don't have any type of deep belief system in anything other than their sense of entitlement to whatever they want and whatever they desire at that moment, whatever their flesh desires. And this is these type of people I don't feel sorry for, and I most definitely do not respect. So let's be honest, Jeffrey Epstein would have given up whatever names he wanted to give up just in order to save his own skin. And I don't think that this Ghislaine Maxwell person is any different. I truly do not believe she's any different. As a matter of fact, for someone to not only engage in this abuse as well with underage girls, but also not only engage in this, but also sorry about the noise. The dogs are barking. I don't know why. But sorry about that. Okay, I think we're good. Not only did she engage in this behavior, but she was the muscle. She was the gopher for this. Like an assistant would get him coffee, she would get him underage girls, and she would groom them. She would, Lord only knows the process of what she would do. If you watch, I forgot the name of it already, but I watched it. There's a documentary on Jeffrey Epstein on Netflix. It's like 4 or 5 episodes. And I watched that the other day, and there's a lot of victims that have a lot to say. And so not only was she aware of what Jeffrey Epstein was doing, she was participating in it, and she was providing it. She was actually doing the legwork to find these girls, groom these girls, and set them up in a position to be violated. And the thing is I'm in a place right now where I am preparing myself for her to get off with a slap on the wrist. And the reason why I say that is because there are deals to be made. If there were very, very high up important people who are involved in this, namely Prince Andrew being one of them. Now, Prince Andrew, he completely denies having any type of relations with any of these young women. Bill Clinton has been known to spend time on his private island while these things were going on. And hopefully, that girl, that's what I'm saying, is hopefully they do a good job of keeping her alive. Double up the suicide watch, and let's hope that she doesn't, under the small chance that Jeffrey Epstein actually did kill himself, which I don't think he did. He's just not the type, this is not a man who felt guilty about anything. So usually when people kill themselves, they're riddled with guilt. They can't live with themselves anymore. That's the whole point. They're disgusted with themselves, and they can't live with themselves, and they take their own life because they can't stand being tortured by the ghosts of people whose lives they have affected. So it's just not in the cards, as far as I'm concerned, that a man like this, such a vain man, such a narcissist, because that is somebody who I do feel comfortable throwing that word out to describe him. This man was most definitely a narcissist, and I just don't see this person committing suicide. So I do believe him to have been murdered. But this woman, I don't think she's any different. And I think that what's going to happen is somebody is going to try to silence her, most definitely, if they aren't currently trying to do it. But the chances are she has a lot of information on a lot of powerful people. And she's not going to. She's not the type to kill herself, I don't think, and I don't think that she's the type either to have an honor amongst thieves type mentality, where she's gonna just quietly do her time and take the blunt of all these crimes. I don't think that she's the type to do that. Yeah, Mignon, I agree with you. Yeah, he was definitely Weasley. And that's the thing is how are we going to feel about this? You know, how are we going to feel about this? Are we going to get on social media and start saying, oh, there's no justice, you know, because think about that. Think about that. What would you rather have? If it turns out that there is an entire network of powerful men who somehow or another are involved in this underground disgusting fetish or whatever you want to call it. I don't even know what the hell you describe this as or call it. It's disgusting to me. And it's about as awful of a crime as crimes get. There's just something about how disgusting this is that makes us all so angry. And we just have to, we're stuck in a position now where we have to decide, what we're going to be okay with. And we have to think logically before we let ourselves get so upset and so mad over what transpires. Because who knows? Maybe justice won't be done. These people have gotten away with this for so long, Maybe the American people really, really need this right now. Because I really believe that. I believe that right now, with everything that's going on in the world, America needs something to happen that's positive. And seeing very, very powerful men who think that they can get away with hurting young children and scarring them for life and doing it with absolute impunity. The thought of this disgusts me, but the thought of seeing them go down one by one would make me very, very happy. It would bring me a lot of joy. And it's not because they're powerful people. I believe that if you get to a point to where you get to be powerful, good for you. But when you get to a point where you get to be powerful and your dreams come true, and then you abuse this power to hurt people, especially children, well, you get no love from me. You get absolutely no love from me. And I wish the absolute worst on you. And here's the thing, feeling that strongly about this, feeling that way about Ghislaine, feeling this strongly about her, it's a troubling thing to know. I want her to stay alive right now. I want her to I'm kind of coming to terms with being okay that she might even get immunity. But let's face it. She's not going to live very long if this happens. But so it's up to you to decide what you consider to be justice. For me, well, I haven't decided that yet. But I do know that these victims deserve justice. And I hope that these victims get justice. And how do you even fix this? How How do you even, because these are people who don't even think they're doing anything wrong. They think that because they are who they are, that it's okay, that somehow it's justified to help themselves, to someone's well-being, to someone's heart, to the way that they see themselves for the rest of their lives, for the way that they look at sex for the rest of their lives, which you guys know me and you've heard me talk about this before. I see as a gift, one of the best gifts that human beings have ever been blessed with, will ever be blessed with, is the ability to feel pleasure from sex. But see, the thing is, the reason why I love it so much is because my perception of it, my perspective, is that I'm able to give pleasure. I'm blessed with the ability to give someone that pleasure. And what is happening to these poor young kids is the opposite of that. It's the absolute opposite. And it's not acceptable. It's just not acceptable. So, if it turns out that she walks because she was able to provide people who have done much worse things, people who have been getting away with it, good. I'll live with that. I'll live with that because at least she did something. At least she did something worthwhile. At least, you know, I'm just thinking out loud. I'm trying to just rationalize the possibilities of what may happen with her right now. And I'm trying to tell myself that at least there's that she'll do that. But we don't even know. We still don't even know what's even being talked about. We don't know anything. We don't know, you know, I mean, there's the possibility that there's no proof. There's nothing that she can actually do to help prosecute any of these people. For all we know, she may not be able to do that. So we have to prepare ourselves for that too. You know, because here we are right now. We're seeing this person having been arrested and being charged, and we don't really know how complex this web and network of people is. We don't really know. It could be set up to where the evidence that they have on her is merely just evidence that they have on her, and that is it. And then that's it. She's just going to go to court. She's going to get convicted, and then she's going to go to prison. That could be it. It could be it. But I do hope that these victims get the justice that they're looking for. Let me go over chat here. I kind of skipped that. I'm going to say what's up to everybody here right quick. I know Mignon's in the house. It's good to see you. Marissa Anderson, how we doing? Carrie Chatterbox Rennie, down the rabbit hole. The elephant in the room, right on. How we doing? Bang Bang Kiss Kiss 007. Cherokee Girl 45. That girl. What is up? Annie, how we doing? Tickety boo. All right. And I'm gonna discuss something. I'm gonna say something here, guys. All right. Tracy L, how we doing? Holly Love, what's up, girl? Hold on here. I'm gonna say something here, guys. Give Give me a second because I think I got everybody. Mimi J2 is in the house too. Rosaline, how we doing? All right, so we're all caught up here. So I've made some decisions recently, and guys, you know, and this it's a little bit of drama, but not really. You know me. I don't like to get deep into drama. You know me. It's a little bit of drama, not much at all. But there are certain people that if you're in this chat right now, we're good. We're good. But there are certain people that I have had to recently separate myself from. And I'm going to explain something very, very simply and very, very easily. Now, if you're somebody and you realize that you've been blocked from the channel, and there's something different regarding how available you are on my channel, pretty much meaning that you've been hidden or blocked. If you are one of these people, don't bother emailing me. I'm not going to answer the email. And I will say that I have my reasons. I believe in having the absolute right to dictate my own personal being, and that includes my environment. So, and I don't think that I owe anyone any explanation for that. In fact, I know I don't owe anybody any explanation for that. I don't even owe the people that I've removed from my environment any explanation. I have my reasons, and it's that simple. So it's nothing personal. It's just I get to a point where when it comes to this channel, sometimes I see certain things, I notice certain things, and it may or may not be something that I would choose to distance myself from, or be a reason to distance myself from someone. And so when I do that, it's my choice. It's my business. I don't owe anybody any explanation for that. And the fact of the matter is it's done. So just move on. Do yourself a favor and move on. Okay. And because my mind is made up. So, you know, it's just not going to be one of these, let me hear what your side of this or blah, blah, blah. Once I see something and it's enough for me, and then I think about it and I ask myself, is it something that I should put some thought into? And this most recent person is someone that I've heard things about many, many times. And they've never done anything to me. They haven't, not to my knowledge anyway. They haven't. But it's gotten to a point where my association with them, I could see being not the best thing for me and not the best thing for my channel. Maybe not, but I'd rather not even get to that point. So yeah, so that's it. So if you watch this and you noticed that there's a redefinition of our association that has taken place, don't take it personal, but you know, also please don't bother emailing me or anything. And just it's a decision that I've made. It's final. It's done. And I wish you the best. So, having said that, back to little Miss Ghislaine here. So Miss Ghislaine Maxwell, she is she's the worst of the worst, because this is the thing. She was willingly, when you're an adult, you're a grown up, you are aware of your actions. You're aware of what you're doing, especially if you feel the need to deny doing them. Right? So it's just that simple. You know, if you need to put energy towards denying something that you're being accused of constantly, if you're putting all this energy into that and lying about it, especially when people have proof, it's very, very, you know, that tells me something about you. It tells me a lot about you, because besides being a vile human being, besides being someone who hurts people as part of pleasure and part of a job, besides that, this also makes you a coward. It also makes you a coward. Anybody who cannot take accountability for their actions, to me, is a coward. And sometimes we do things, and we do we're nobody's perfect. Sometimes we do things that are just plain fucking dumb, and then we don't have the guts, you know, to own up to it. But then we think about it, and then we're like, you know what? Yeah, that shit, it was dumb. I'm sorry, I screwed up. Sorry. And I find that happening to me once in a blue moon, as I think it happens to us all. But those of us who try to be self-aware and who take pride in being decent people, or at least always being on the always being on the path of trying to be the best person that you can be. Well, you're gonna have to, you got to learn to take accountability for the things that you do. And taking accountability for the things that you do includes realizing that something's wrong and not doing it over and over and over again. And when you're victimizing different people over and over and over again, and you're smart enough to make a shit ton of money, then you know what you're doing is wrong. You know what you're doing is illegal. And the fact that it's illegal indicates that there's a reason why it's illegal. And the reason why it's illegal is because it's wrong. So if you're constantly engaging in this kind of behavior and almost seemingly getting off on getting away with it because you know it's wrong, and lying about it, and leading a certain type of lifestyle and presenting a certain image, and then behind closed doors you're doing the most disgusting, awful things to people, and you're damaging people's lives forever. So you've got to be able to take some accountability for that. And this is not someone who I feel is capable of taking any accountability for this. So she will roll over on somebody if there's somebody to roll over. And she'll do it to as many people as it takes, if there's multiple people. So I just hope, and the thing is again, I'm willing to see her walk away from all of this, if that's what it takes. But the only way I'll be completely and totally pissed off and upset is if no justice is done. You know, if she ends up dead, or she doesn't offer up anything, or she does offer up something, oh wow, thank you, that's really, really awesome. Thank you, Holly Love hooked me up with a PayPal. Appreciate you. So yeah, I think that she will definitely roll over on whoever she needs to roll over on, to save her own skin. And I think these important people that she can roll over on know this, because I believe they knew it about Jeffrey Epstein. So tonight, even though it's Independence Day, even though it's probably appropriate to discuss these things that I've been discussing. But like I said, I'm going to do that again. I'm going to be doing that tomorrow, but with Colton Harris Moore. And I'm really, really excited about that. I love talking with him, and I'm really interested to see his viewpoint on what's going on in his city currently. But I realize, guys, that I've been very passionate about what's going on, and these things. The reason why I'm very passionate about this is because it's the world we live in. These are really scary times, and there's a threat of change that I don't want, and other people seem to want it because they think that this change is going to be towards a better America, and I just don't. I'm realistically seeing it as not. People are thinking small and thinking, better healthcare. We're on the road to getting universal healthcare, and we're on the road to getting this and that and the other. But it's going to come at a cost. It's going to come at a cost of freedom. And I think that we're all, the majority of us right now are seeing and taking our freedoms that we have for granted. Very much so. There's a real big sense of entitlement happening. And it worries me. It does concern me. So this is the reason why I talk about this. It's like, I talk about true crime, even though I'm not a true crime channel, guys. But it's something that interests me, and certain cases I feel very passionate about. So this is another thing. This is something that I feel very passionate about, and I think everybody should feel passionate about it. It's important. It's where you live. It's your home. It's the future of your family and your well-being. So tonight is just about kind of hanging out a little bit, guys. What's up, Nancy Eileen? Tonight's just about hanging out a little bit. We're going to talk about whatever we want. After all, it is Independence Day. I love my independence. And so tonight we're just here to celebrate it. I was on Duty Ron's channel earlier. He live streamed from his backyard, and it was an amazing display of fireworks just that he got to view just from his backyard. The comfort is not having to be in a crowd. Good for him, man. I think I love when things like that happen to good people, because let's face it, the bottom line is Duty Ron he's a veteran of his own right. He's a retired New York City police detective. Can you imagine the things that he's done for his community? And he was able to end it in one piece, settle down, chill out. And it was beautiful. This is a grateful man. At one point, he took a little shot of himself, and he had this dope shirt on that said like America, and it was red, white, and blue. It was great. I love seeing that. And so I was sitting there just thinking, and I'm like, man, who better to deserve a view like that in their backyard during these crazy times, especially how bad New York is. How great is it that Duty Ron was able to get to be surrounded by a beautiful display of fireworks. And it was amazing. It was a hell of a show of fireworks that was going on, and he had this perfect view just from his backyard where he didn't have to be around anybody. He was on his own property. And I just kept thinking how awesome that is, and how much a man like that deserves that, and how great, either, whatever you believe in, the universe or God or whatever you believe in, that's a blessing to me. I have to see that as a blessing for a man like that. It's a good dude. So if you're not subscribed to Duty Ron, I highly recommend subscribing to Duty Ron. because he's a really cool dude, and I love when he he's like, guys, hello, my name is Duty Ron. I'm a retired New York City police detective. Every time he does that, I get the same cool feeling of when I'm watching like Law and Order SVU and the beginning comes on and it's like, in the criminal justice system, sexually based offenses are considered especially heinous. In New York City, the dedicated detectives who investigate these vicious felonies are members of an elite squad known as the Special Victims Unit. These are their stories. Chung chung. I get really, really excited every time they do that. Every time. So every time Duty Ron like introduces himself, guys, hello, my name is Duty Ron. I'm like, yeah, do it, yeah. So I get all pumped, man. I'm a Duty Ron fan. He's a cool dude, and he's real informative, and he's very passionate, and it's cool to watch him try to restrain himself because he's very thoughtful of his audience. He knows his audience are pretty. You know, they're all kinds of different types of people, but many of them are devout Christians, and he's thoughtful of what they're going to hear come out of his mouth. But sometimes, you know, he'll let a cuss word slip. It's pretty funny. But if you're not subscribed to Duty Ron, please do so, because he covers true crime cases, and it is coming from the perspective of a very, very experienced New York City police detective. So I can't even imagine. Besides Scott Reich, I can't imagine a more qualified YouTuber to discuss these things. There's nobody whose perspective I'm more interested in when it comes to a crime case than a retired police detective from New York City and a lawyer in Colorado, considering everything that's been going on in Colorado. So definitely, if you're true crime, if you're not subscribed to those two channels, that's where you're going to get the most common sense perspectives, and I highly recommend them both. Okay, good night, Tickety Boo. Yeah, it was cool because he, I had a few beers last night, and I was all excited because it was like 1 a.m. and Duty Ron went live. I thought he was going to be asleep, and he just went live. Made my night. It was pretty dope. So Annie, you live in Seattle. So be sure to watch tomorrow. I don't like bringing this up because I know Colton doesn't like it. But what for those of you who are new to the channel and have not watched my past videos, Colton Harris Moore, if you Google him, you're gonna find a lot, and he is well known today because of something he did as a kid. And he was known as the Barefoot Bandit in the press. And he has since been on this channel and basically debunked a lot of the things that you're going to see if you Google him and the stuff you've read. But it just so happens that this young man he's older now. He's, I believe, in his 30s now. And he is extremely brilliant, extremely intelligent, and he's fascinating to listen to. This is a guy who is a shining example of what I like to consider to be a glarer. This is somebody who did his time and paid his debt to society, and not only paid his debt to society, but allowed this to rehabilitate him, truly rehabilitate him, and allowed it to be a learning tool. And he did the best he could while he was in prison doing time, and he was educating himself. And he is now an entrepreneur and a very, very brilliant young man with a lot of insight on finance. I don't know anything about money. When I talk to him, I feel really dumb, but I'm not focused on feeling dumb. I'm focused on what he's on what he's telling me. And I'm trying to just understand it all, because it's always so much, but it's so informative. So I'm just like, just sucked into everything that he's saying. He's absolutely fascinating. So I'm going to really, really enjoy having him here tomorrow. And this is the first time that there's a situation happening that him and I are going to be able to talk about that we both equally feel very passionate about. I feel very passionate about what's going on in Seattle right now, and I don't agree with it, and I'm not happy with it. And I know that he feels the same. And a very interesting detail about that is there are certain people in charge in Seattle right now that Colton has past experiences with on a personal level. I'm going to be interested to hear what his perspective is on those things. And I'm really hoping that you guys will join me for that. Hey, 1 Hour Dry Floors, how we doing? Yeah, so I really, really hope that you guys are going to be here for that, because I'm going to really enjoy it. But do yourself a favor, because Colton's story is very, very fascinating. He does not like to be known for this. He does not like to be remembered for it, because at the end of the day, guys, remember, these were criminal acts. He hurt people, not physically. He didn't actually physically hurt people, but he damaged people's lives. He affected people's lives in a negative manner. But he learned from these mistakes, and he's taking the knowledge that he learned from paying his debt to society and trying to do the best that he can with it to give back to his own immediate environment. And he's the epitome of gratitude. He's absolutely logical. He's very self-aware. He's rational, and he's empathetic. And I absolutely love talking with him. Yeah, I haven't seen Angelina ATF either. I don't know. The last time I saw Angelina was, I think, in Kay's chat the other night. He's absolutely not dangerous, and he could be dangerous, sure. I mean, as anybody with that level of intelligence can be dangerous, but he's definitely not. He's definitely somebody who chooses to use his intelligence to give back, and he's always trying to do this, and I love that about him. So you know, this is and honestly, guys, he's exclusively Glare so far, which is great. You know, he doesn't talk to press. He's not the guy that is doing a bunch of interviews with press. He's not somebody that enjoys the attention that he got from the mistakes that he made. And he was so kind to join me on my channel simply from me leaving a comment. And then he listened, he watched some of my live streams, and then he contacted me and emailed me and said, let's do it. And I've been kind of bugging him to talk about Chaz and Chop. And since it started going on, and he always, returns my text. He's like, I'm just so busy, I can't, and then out of nowhere the other day, he texted me just out of the blue and was like, let's set a date. And then we agreed on tomorrow. So this is going to be good. Yes, Mimi, you will be allowed to ask him questions. Absolutely. So I'm going to need all mods on deck, because I definitely do not want anyone asking him about his past. Like I said, it's not something that he likes to be known for anymore. He's making a name for himself in positive ways, and I believe in giving him that, providing him with that energy, providing him with that platform to where he can talk about what he's doing now and what he's focused on these days. He deserves that. He's paid his debt to society and then some. So I am definitely going to be I definitely want the chat to be focused on the positive right now, and give him the respect of not bringing up and asking him silly questions about his Barefoot Bandit days. Good night, Nancy Eileen. Thank you. Yeah, it'll be a late one, Holly Love. I don't know. I never see you in my late night chats. I feel like I haven't seen you in forever because you were in my usually my daytime chats. So but yeah, it's gonna be a late one. It's gonna be 11 o'clock at night. Right, Rosalind. I mean, the thing is, it's a complicated thing because he's looked at as some sort of folk hero, and it's usually by the anti-establishment types. When you talk to Colton, he can't even relate to that type. That's not what he was doing. You know, that's not what he was doing. So it's interesting to listen to him talk about what the things that he's passionate about, because they don't mesh with the type of people that send him messages and leave comments saying stuff like, "Oh, dude, you're a legend," you know, "Fuck the system," blah blah blah. You know, he's like. He's nothing like these types of people, which is really, really funny. And, you know, I mean, people wrote folk songs about him and posted them on YouTube. It's the strangest thing in the world. And it's really not. It's not strange. The reason why it's not strange is because the media just created a cartoon character out of him and then used him to sell newspapers and magazines and shit. So it's, you know, it's nothing like him, you know, and the fascinating thing is they just kind of had to guess anyway because he didn't talk to the press. He had no interest in talking to the press. He had no interest in supporting what they were doing with his name. So and you gotta love that. You gotta respect that. And more than anything, I'm just grateful that he has chosen this channel to talk and communicate with the rest of us, and express himself to the rest of us. I mean, farting elephant in the room. How are you? Are you in here stinking up my chat? Is that what you're doing? So the elephant in the room and the farting elephant in the room showed up and saved Robbie's chat that I was on panel for a while back, or you know, a few days ago, and they had me cracking up. You know, they had me cracking up with just emojis. That doesn't happen. That doesn't happen. Like, it showed me how little of a kid I still am. It was just really, really funny. But they're so far they have not been disruptive in a negative way. So, you know, they're more than they're more than welcome to be in the chat, as long as, you know, as long as they don't start any shit. Oh, I'm hilarious sometimes. Yeah. So guys, yeah, I just wanted to hang out with you guys a little bit. I wanted to give you my feelings on this Ghislaine Maxwell person. Pretty much, I'm in the same boat as everybody else. I mean, she's a piece of shit. She's awful. She deserves whatever's coming to her. But I hope that anybody else that she was involved with has justice served to them as well. And it's just that simple. I just don't care any other way. I don't, let's do this before I go. Let's do this. Let's explore this. So let's not forget that she was the procurer. Is that how you say that word? Jesus, why went of these crimes? She would find and groom these girls for Jeffrey Epstein, for the most part, right? At least Jeffrey Epstein. But it's naive to think that she wasn't doing it for people that are important to Jeffrey Epstein as well, business associates. So it's naive to think that didn't go on as well. And this is also somebody who participated. So, but we have to remember, she worked for Jeffrey Epstein. She was doing the dirty work, as it were, for Jeffrey Epstein. So Jeffrey Epstein, it's fair to explore the idea. Don't bite my head off here, but it's fair to explore the idea that she was possibly a victim of Jeffrey Epstein as well, in her own right. And I think that she plans on playing that card. Type of one. If anybody actually feels sorry for Ghislaine Maxwell right now, in that sense, type of one, if there is a side of you that feels any empathy for her at all whatsoever, type of one. Type of two, if it's a hell no. So the farting elephant in the room, yeah. Whoa, Costa Rica. Thanks, Kevin. Welcome. You out there surfing or what, dude? I hear the surf in Costa Rica is fantastic. She did. I mean, she did make it possible for everyone, Mimi J2. You're absolutely right. But again, like I said, I mean, see, here's why I think that she's not a victim. This is why, first of all, I don't like people who do bad things and then play the victim card. I'm not a fan of that at all. I'm not a fan of that in the slightest bit. And it concerns me when people do this because they play off other people's sense of empathy as well. And it causes people to kind of take it easy on them. And I think it also, I think another damaging factor in that is it affects how people look at things in the future and people who do bad things in the future as well. And I think it's great to have empathy for people. I do understand that, but it's also super duper important that the accountability factor is something that should be focused on, because it's important that she is held accountable for her actions. And the reason why she is fully 100%, in my eyes, fully 100% accountable for her actions is because she was an adult. She's an adult. She knew what she was doing, and she knew what she was doing, and then she ended up somehow she ended up leaving the country. She ended up running away because she knew what she was doing was wrong. And I don't buy this bullshit. You know, the latest thing that pedophiles are doing is trying to justify their actions and saying that it's just like being homosexual or identifying as another gender in some way. It's just as genetically forgivable. But see, no, that's not okay. Because the problem is when it comes to homosexuality or anything of that nature, these are victimless. These things, there's nobody being damaged. It is wrong because children are not developed yet. This makes them victims. They are not old enough to make a decision as important as who they are going to express their sexuality with. They're not old enough for this yet. And that is why it damages them long term. And it causes all kinds of things: PTSD, depression, even suicide. So leading to suicide. So to me, it's I hold her 150% accountable, and she has absolutely no business functioning in society. She has no business being in the same society as me. So this, it's not okay. There's absolutely nothing about it that's okay. I don't care if she had a weak disposition when it came to, because obviously she had a strong enough disposition to groom young girls. So I doubt that she had a very weak disposition when it came to Jeffrey Epstein. So I believe she knew exactly what she was doing, and she knew that what she was doing was absolutely wrong, and she deserves anything that is coming to her. But I hope that what happens to her leads to bringing other people to justice, other powerful people such as herself, or even more powerful. I hope the whole thing comes crashing down, man. I'm really, I mean, think about it. I want to see these people who think they can do anything they want, and I hope it rocks the system too. I hope it completely rocks the system. I hope it sets a whole new standard for who we allow to be in powerful positions in our government. So I really, really hope that that's what it does. Because right now we need a change. I don't want to get back into the political stuff right now, really, but let's be honest. Right now, we're getting the same thing. You vote left or you vote right, you're going to get the same thing, pretty much. The country's going to be, it's my life has never actually significantly changed because of someone who is in office as president. But there's a lot of things, and I'm going to, there's a video that I'm going to play tomorrow at the beginning of my conversation with Colton on tomorrow's live stream. There's a video, it's about 15 minutes long. So I'm going to play a 15-minute video tomorrow to open things up. And this thing really, really explains clearly that what's going on in our country right now is not exactly ideal, and it's not in the best interests of its people. So hopefully this situation will rock the system to a certain degree and cause things to happen, and we as a people set a new standard for our leaders. That's what I'm really hoping for. But it could just be a pipe dream. But remember something, guys. As crazy as the world is right now, as absolutely mad as the world is going right now, the big thing that we think about when this happens is, oh my God, like how in the hell is this happening? It's something so crazy, and we're focused on it because it's so bad. But we got to remember, people, that it's just as possible for things that are that powerful to happen to the world that are good. It's just as possible for good things that have that kind of an impact on our planet to happen. If it's possible for bad things like this to happen, to us as a society, if it's possible, then it's possible for good things to happen too. And these good things do happen. And we need to keep that in mind. We need to be aware of the bad stuff and use it to build something good. That's truly how I believe. Yeah, if there's dark, agreed, Mignon. If there's dark, there's got to be light. There's got to be light. So we got to, let's stay hopeful, people. Let's stay hopeful. So hopefully. Yeah, Rosalind. I completely agree. Yeah, these are things that need to be addressed and talked about, and that's why I talk about them. And I realize, I lost just today. I lost a ton of subscribers. What seems like a ton to me, even if I lose one, sometimes I'm like, man, what did I do to upset that person? How did I not meet their needs? But I'm quite certain that I'm expressing some very, very unpopular opinions. I realize that, and I can't apologize for that. But these are crazy times, and I'm with everyone. I do agree with everyone that these are bad times right now, but we gotta remember that the world can be a very, very good place too. And there's always going to be stuff going on in this world that we don't like. There's always going to be stuff that's going on that's just not going to make us happy. But we have this amazing thing called free will, and with free will, you can literally make yourself happy. You have the ability to make yourself happy and do good things for yourself and make yourself happy. And you being happy is just as important to the people within your environment. People in your environment, think about it. When somebody's in a room and they're in a bad mood, they're affecting the whole vibe of the room, aren't they? Right? So, I mean, is it illogical to think that if you're focused on making yourself happy as best as you possibly can, then you're contributing to your environment in a positive manner? So, all right, guys. Once again, I'm the Glare. I'm a retired. No, I'm just kidding. I love when Rudy Ron does that, man. I love it. So anyways, guys, we will be doing this again very soon, my friends. A very, very happy Independence Day to all of you. Thank you so much, and take care of each other and yourselves, please.